All right, man, we got the main event up here. Who's ready for it? I'm ready. You're ready. We're all ready. Main event time right here. We're going to reminisce on the 90s first, and we're going to talk about why the 90s, in terms of dating, romantic relationships, and dating tactics, are indeed dead. All right, first thing that I want to say here before we reminisce. All right, where's the Undertaker bill? Before we reminisce, I want you to think the year 1990 for the people that voted and say what year you were born. All right, most people were here from the 1980s, born in the 1980s. Okay. The year 1990 is as close today to the modern day 2024 as the year 1955. Now, we're only a few months left in 2024. We only have a few months left. So we'll be in 2025 in about 3 months. The year 1955 is just as close to the year 1990. All right, so everybody knows that if indeed there was an idyllic time, there were the 1950s and the 1990s. These are two dates that are idyllic, right? For marriages, traditional marriages, 1950s. For modern day, 1990s, with the love and the romance and the music and the love making and all of these things right there, pre the age of information. I know the internet became available for us in the 90s, but it didn't become really a thing until the 2000s, like the year 2000, right? It was like Ethernet took it to a whole new level, right? So here's the thing. When you were growing up in the 90s, nobody wanted to hear anything about 1955. Nobody wanted to hear about the good old days of Andy Griffith and Mayberry. And we didn't want to hear about the good old days of I Love Lucy and how it was going to the Dairy Queen, getting a banana split and an ice cream sundae. Nobody wanted to hear about that shit, how people used to date in court. Nobody wanted to hear that in the 1990s. Similar today, we do have a lot of men. The biggest voices in our space tend to be millennials and Gen Xers. And in with that, we always go back to the 90s. Back in the day, we used to do this. Back in the day, we used to do this. Mode 1. Back in the day, we used to cold approach. Back in the day, we used to go to the mall and the bowling alley. Back in the day, we used to take the bitches to Red Robin and Denny's. Yep, and McDonald's. Yes, you could do that back in the day. All right, today, these bitches want mash rolls and shit like that. And so a lot of guys that are big voices in the space related to dating in the last 10 or 15 years have been Gen X. And we typically say, well, telling old war stories. When I was in high school, when I was in college, the old war stories that they don't have receipts on. Maybe they might have some old Polaroids or some old sneaky snaps of whatever they used to do and whatever we used to do. But we just got war stories. And what we used to do in the club used to be like this. And we used to be no video, no evidence, no nothing. No, nothing. It was all idyllic. It's kind of like what they call revisionist history. And we're going to take you through a history lesson here. But we have to understand, as people of the 90s, Gen X, I have to stand up for myself. We have to understand that it was a different time. Just as different as 1955 and 1960 were to us when our parents were alive in the 50s and 60s, that was a different time. It was a way different time. Just as 2024, 2025 is significantly different than 1990. Way different. All right. It's not even the same era. In fact, the government and the powers that be have taken women to a completely different place. Women are completely different than they were in the 1990s. Certainly back in the 1950s. Way different. And I'm going to play a clip of that. But first, let's take a chance to reminisce about the good old days of the 1990s. All right. So let me go ahead and pop this up on my screen just so you can see. All right, we're going to take you back today. We about to take you back to the 90s. All right, so let's go ahead and get some music. We're going to go down memory lane. All right, here we go. Oh, shit. Here we go. 1990s, ninjas. Let's go. This was my computer in the 1990s right here. This is my Mac Plus. With a floppy disk right in the front, brothers. Yes, indeed. Oh, yeah. Hey, let's go. Let's put that music on. All right, let's take you down the memory lane right here. The release of the SNES, the Super Nintendo, and Street Fighter. Right there, brothers. We only need 16-bit graphics. You don't need these crazy-ass graphics. And if you was really a gamer, you had the TurboGrafx 16. Not the TurboGrafx 16-bit? Oh my God, we was out here balling with it. These were our cell phones all through the 90s right there. It was after the brick phone, not the Nokia, not the small Nokia. Oh, indeed, man. No smartphone, no internet. Maybe we had some motherfucking, I don't know, Snake. Maybe Snake was on there. Yes, indeed. We had Snake on our Nokia phones. We didn't have no internet access on it neither. No Bluetooth access. Not the UNLV running Rebels. That was the team of the early 90s right here. The first real thug team, right? The real hip-hop team right here. The UNLV running Rebels. Oh, you can't forget the Fab Five freshmen of Michigan rocking the baldies. Ninjas be like, Coach, you bald. Ninja, we was all bald in the 90s. We were all rocking baldies in the 90s with the big baggy shorts. Not the Dallas Cowboys, the team of the 90s. 3 Super Bowls. And they ain't been to the Super Bowl since. And they was out here running a lot of white girls, and that white girl, they was running a lot of coca and flatbacks and strippers buying pussy. Yes, they were, and winning Super Bowls, all while high off coca. Not the best draft class of all times, the 1996 draft class. None of these ninjas is playing basketball right now. Some of these ninjas are owners. Some of them are coaches. Some of them, unfortunately, have left us. And so did the big baggy shirts and the shorts. Hulk Hogan was a good guy in the 80s, but in the 1990s, he was a bad guy. New world order. Yes, indeed. Oh, also, Stunning Steve Austin had a blonde ponytail. Stone Cold Steve Austin had a blonde ponytail in the 1990s. Yes, he did. And The Undertaker started his streak. He was 1-0 in WrestleMania in 1990, not 21-1. All right. These people were the biggest stars in the 1990s. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Prince. They're not with us anymore. They've died. Unfortunately, they're dead. All right, the top selling artist in America. All right, what else do we got here in the 1990s? Mike Tyson went to prison in the 1990s. He ruled the 1980s, and my man was going to jail. Today, he's going to be fighting against Jake Paul here this month in a few weeks here in Dallas. Will Smith. This is the 90s right here. He was in a wonderful, beautiful relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith. This is how it ended. This is terrible, huh? Absolutely terrible. What about this? How to Be a Player was how men did it. We used to shit on women and made movies about it. Yes, indeed. And we used to be out here talking about we got that game. Oh, yeah. Pretty Woman, A Sign of the Times, a movie, the biggest movie of the early 90s, about a prostitute who marries a rich man. Signs of Times to Come. All right, yes, indeed. Back in the 1990s, a president could get his dick sucked right there in the Oval Office and still be the president. Yes, indeed. That is the 1990s for you, gentlemen. You can get your dick sucked right there in the Oval Office, right there. All right, yes, indeed. It was an idyllic time, the 1990s. But this is the president and the future president. This guy became president, and he was a real estate baron. All right, this is the president coming up here. I know. It was hard to believe that this guy would be president of the United States in the 1990s. Oh, not Kateem Hardison, not Whitley Gilbert and Dwayne Wade in the 1990s. Yes, indeed, it was a wonderful, beautiful time where you could simp like Major League simp. All right, 100 degrees sipping out here. Oh, sookie now. Not the 1990s, ladies and gentlemen. White people, I didn't forget about you. All right, here we go right here. Oh, it was a wonderful time where you could fall in love and ruin a man's wedding and get married all at the same time in the 1990s. Oh, look at this. We need to go back to these times right here where your girl wasn't just swiping on Instagram and TikTok all day and she was just loving you and kissing you. We end up realizing that they were in a sexual harassment lawsuit. Gina filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against Martin. She did. But what a beautiful time in the 90s. Oh, yeah. Oh, woo. In living color. What a wonderful time. My goodness, man. 5 seasons of magic. Really 3 seasons of magic. But what a beautiful time. Remember when it was? Everybody sat down and we watched the TV all at the same time in the 1990s. Yeah, we couldn't wait till The Living Color came on, and then we went to school the next day and we told all the jokes. We didn't have to watch it on streaming services. We all waited to 8 o'clock on Sunday. What about this? White people, I didn't forget about you. This is the biggest band, even they're still touring right now. This is Metallica. The music was original. The music was great. All instruments and drums and guitar. Lead guitar, bass guitar, all of that shit. Drums, heavy drums. All right, here we go. Oh, these were your hip-hop stars right here. The biggest stars of the 90s. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us. They're no longer with us. Neither of these guys right here. All died before they hit pretty much their 30s. Their mid-20s, some of them. The biggest band of the early 90s right here. Unfortunately, one of these guys are no longer with us. One is, for sure, Nirvana. It Smells Like Teen Spirit. All right, yes indeed. Living Single. Oh man, it was a wonderful time where we were all friends and lived in the same house. We all lived under one roof in the 1990s as we struggled into our emerging adulthood years. And then the white people did it too. The white people said, black people doing it, white people gonna do it. It's friends. All right, here we go right here. Indeed, the 1990s was a wonderful time, but what's happening to our 90s? Will Smith is simping. R. Kelly's in jail. He ran the 90s and the 2000s. He's in jail. Bill Cosby, who ended his star sitcom in the early 90s, he ended up in jail too. God damn. What happened to the 90s? Now P. Diddy, who reigned supreme in the 90s and the 2000s. The 90s is falling apart, man. God damn. It's just what it is, man. I'll tell you, man. This is a cold-ass, evil-ass world out here, man. The 90s used to be the time.
It's an evil world we live in.
All right, yes, indeed. It used to be the time. We had the Mac computers. We had just everything we wanted in the 1990s. All right, the best basketball team, the best athletes, all of that. The dynasties, Michael Jordan. We had the best clothes and the best wardrobes. We had the best wrestling. We had everything. We had the best looking women. We had the best stars of all time. We had the best fighters. Oh, yeah. We had the best movies. We used to go to the movies, y'all. We used to go to the movies and pack into the movies, man. Yes, indeed. Yes, we used to do. And we had the best presidents and the best interns duck sick in the presidents out
There's
here.
barbecue in there.
Yes, indeed. We had the best people, Donald Trump and young Donald Trump out here. Yes, indeed.
I got money.
All right, the best TV shows and all of that shit. Yes, we did. And we didn't have no fat women. No fat women. In fact, Queen Latifah was the fat woman on the show. All right. And she ain't that fat in comparison to women today. You see that? Queen Latifah was the fat woman on this show, and she looked slim by today's standards. Oh, no. Yes, indeed. And we was all segregated, too. Yes, indeed. What a wonderful world we lived in back in the day. Yes, indeed. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. The age of innocence is gone. See, in the 90s, we were somewhat innocent. We were kind of kept away from all of the realities of the world. We weren't really into politics like that, right? Politics wasn't the topic of the conversation. Today, the number one topic of all conversation is politics. We kept that behind us. We let Rush Limbaugh and them deal with all that shit, all right? We let all of them deal with that. All right, the rest of it, we actually had no cares in the world, didn't we? Well, those days have eroded us. The last idyllic age of innocence time. So let's see today in the relationship department, what do men have to deal with today? Back in the day, you had to open your mouth. You had to cold approach. You had to introduce yourself. You had to have a man, your wingman. Go tell your girl, go tell her, man, I like her. You could pass a note. All right, you could say, do you like me? Yes or no. Send the letter back. Women didn't just outright talk shit about you and reject you back in the day. All right, they would just say, I politely decline. Now, what are people faced with today? We got new people out here. It's a whole new world. Relationships are much harder to deal with because we have a lot more distractions. Let me play this clip right here of this video. I don't know if this is a movie, but listen to this right here. This is a Man and a woman looking to get together in holy matrimony, and let's see what kind of chaos ensues about getting together. Here we go.
Did you tell your mom about all of the proposals?
Yes?
I love you, but I'm not ready to get married because I haven't figured out my life yet. I don't want my life to be consumed by my husband's. And Randall, I love you, but you consume things.
Well, let me put your mind at ease.
I am tired of having this fight. We have been having the same fight ever since we met. We made a promise to one another that we would never get lost in each other, and I broke that promise. And you let me. You have let me bend to your every need time and time again. Oh, we have kids? I have to step back from my job. You quit your job? I work overtime. You run for city councilman? I stand by your side. You win city councilman. Now what? I'm supposed to give up what I love to become a politician's wife? What then?
That's not what I
No,
want.
I finally have something. I have something that I have been looking for longer than I knew, and I am not going to give that up.
Yeah, I'm not going to bend, she says. I'm not going to bend.
I'm not going to bend.
Oh, no. Oh, no, gentlemen. Where's the, oh. See, here's the deal. You guys don't realize that women today have way more to reach for than they did 30 years ago and certainly 60 years ago. They got way more life. They got travel. They got more money in their pocket to spend. They got a lot more reach. They got careers and CEO and big plans in life. Big plans. Right around 19, 20, 21, 24, a woman can be like, do I want that or this? Sometimes they had to make a decision. Sometimes women told them you can have both. Sometimes women say, yeah, I can have both, but let me start with that husband. Let me have a man. They would bring a man along. You would slightly be able to say, well, you're going to be on my path, my program. And the woman would be like, okay. Or she could choose not to. And that's okay. But you had a greater reach of women that could be like, yes, I'm going to follow you, daddy. You're it. You're the man. Today, that's not the case. Women are born in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. They like, I got shit to reach to. I got big dreams. And if they do settle down, it's after they rolled the cock carousel. After they've been divorced once. After they've been impregnated. After 3 abortions. That's when they start settling down. They got big facts. They ain't trying to build with you. They got big dreams. I'm not just going to be no politician's wife. Hell no. That's what Hillary Clinton did. I'm going to be a politician's wife. Then I'm going to be president. That was her whole plan. She's like, I got to get behind him. Then I'm going to go, not today. I got big dreams and big careers, and I ain't putting it behind. I ain't putting it behind for your monkey ass. Even though you're good, you're rising up. She's like, I still ain't going to be second fiddle here. We're going to do it equal partnership. I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to break. I got bigger things. And you're going to be the mayor? Fuck the mayor. I'm going to be the manager of a call center. I'm going to be head motherfucking manager at Rite Aid. That's where they at. She's like, I'm not stopping for you. I got big dreams. And they do this all up into their 20s and their early 30s. And they chase them big dreams. And then they say,
and that's you.
All right, they find the gump. All right, I got CEO. I got middle management. I got assistant manager at the human resources office. All right, now I'm going to find me a man. I got a 1-bedroom, 3-bathroom townhouse. I need an equal partner. See, where we're at is that the majority of women have been told that they are the star. They need to find a guy that is willing to rise with her. You need to hitch your wagon to her star. Or you can hitch your wagons together as you bring in all of your bullshit, late 20s, mid 30s, early 40s, and y'all supposed to rise above all this. The power couple. The AKA, you're a good man provider. You take care of my kids. Now, we still had stepmoms and stepdads. We had this in the 90s. However, that wasn't the prevailing thought. That wasn't the prevailing thought. That was some women. That wasn't the majority of women, and it certainly wasn't white women. It was some black women. And it wasn't the prevailing thought of all black women. They haven't reached all the propaganda at this point. All right, the early 90s, that wasn't all black women. That was some women talking that shit. All right, listen to Queen Latifah. There was some women talking that shit. All right, but not that many. Today, that is almost all of them. Almost all of them now. And it is almost half of all white women. I mean, they all on that shit now. They soaked up all that, drank up all that Kool-Aid. They drank up all that Kool-Aid. So that's the prevailing thought. And so the 90s was an idyllic time where you could have that tender love. You could have that we'll grow together and build and live in we'll live together in this type of shit. Today there's a lot of people that don't want to go through this. I'm not going to get it out the mud together. We ain't going to get it out the mud. Ninja, you going to come in ready, steady. Again, there's some women like this still. Not the prevailing thought. This is not the norm. Right? I'm not going to watch you struggle and watch you, what was he, radio DJ? All right, she like, I could be the radio DJ. I could be the radio DJ too. I could be the CEO of your radio company. Yeah. All right, let's take you through a couple more things here related to this. You got this right here. This wasn't around in the 90s. I mean, 304s were around in the 90s. But this conversation right here was not around in the 90s. Here we go.
That's what your body count says about you. Absolutely fucking nothing. We have really got to stop with all of the shame, blame, and misogyny that is going around in the dating world right now. I can say personally, yeah, I put my hoe hat up a long time ago. I slept around because I used my body to connect with people. That doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. And that doesn't mean that just because I have a body count from when I lived in New York, that I should also be judged now because somebody is insecure or feels insecure because of the fact that I had a past. So if somebody's asking you what your body count is and it makes you uncomfortable, then set that boundary and let them know, hey, there's a lot more to me than how many people I've been with. And if that's your focus, I don't know that we're going to be a match. Here's what your body count says about you.
Yeah. And you certainly didn't hear white women talking like this. All right. You didn't hear white women talking like this, bro. Today, this is common for them. All right. Because a lot of them go through this early stage of first they were criticized about the body count. Now they're accepting it. Hey, it's on you. And even if 80% of the guys will reject them, then they'll still be going after the 5% guy. All right. And this woman said, I cut off all the comments. Silence. Comments shut off because of the vile and disgusting things people were saying to each other. Yep. So censor. This is social media. Welcome to social media. Social media was non-existent in the 90s. Thus, it didn't allow this conversation to go on. Meaning that if a woman had a high body count, and we had women like this, she didn't advertise it. She certainly wouldn't jump in the middle of the goddamn school auditorium and say this. She certainly wouldn't be in the student union of her university saying this. Nobody would be saying this openly because she knew the reputation. Why? Her reputation mattered. Why? Because the reach was small. This is men and women. Her reach was just right there in a 10 square mile area. That was a woman's reach in terms of finding a mate. If not, she would have to pick up and move to another area. There was nobody out here on a goddamn website, a dating app, a dating site, a matchmaker site. Nobody had this reach. Social media, where you can plausibly deniability to post things that will get in thirst traps, potentially widen your horizons to across the world. There was no reach. So it mattered. There was only 30 men that you had to pick from. 30 men in high school, 100 men in college. There was no options. I got options out here. There was none of that. So you could not reach out to the rest of the world and then come out here and say, yeah, I've been ran through when I was in New York. However, I still matter. So there only needs to be one person in the world to fall for this. In the world. There was a movie in the 90s called Sleepless in Seattle, which was one of the first times people started to hook up long distance in a sense that you could communicate immediately with each other. Not a whole letter, not a 4-page letter with perfume sprayed on it. You handwrite the address. You can get to each other like this. You got mail. You can just communicate like this, back and forth, 3,000 miles away. Then people can hop on an airplane. Get $300, hop on an airplane, not a Greyhound bus. Just hop on over. You be on a flight. These were all new. These are new ideas. Now, we also had 304s, and they were openly 304s. We had them, and yes, they could still find men, especially celebrity men and all this shit. We had 304. 304s have always been there. So people were like, we had this and that. We already had it, but the idea of everyday woman being a 304 was not it. And in fact, you could almost not find any women in the years 1990 all the way up to 1997 that would openly aspire to be part of Playboy magazine. Listen to me. So that was our OnlyFans back in the day, which was Playboy magazine and anything related to Playboy. In this decade, if a woman came out and openly aspired to be a Playboy model, she would be ostracized immediately. However, there were 18-year-old women, Dorothy Stratton. There were a lot of 18-year-old women that we saw barely legal on Playboy magazine. Nobody had a problem with this. Today we do. We have a problem with this. We act like this is new, and these women ain't been 18 and 19 the whole time. Now, all of a sudden, their brain stems ain't developed, and we're a perv for looking at it. We always been looking at young girls, right, since the beginning. Since the Man Show, young girls jumping on trampolines. Today, this is passe. We shouldn't be looking at it. We're pedophiles. However, a woman cannot openly say, I'm going to be a Playboy model. That happened around the 2000s because of a reality show that put that in there and women aspired to see that. Then you had sex tapes and all these things, and women said, hey, that's how we're going to get ahead. But the 90s, a woman couldn't do that because she would completely be ostracized from her friend group, her social circle, where social circle and talking to women publicly mattered. That was too much to risk. Today, that's not a risk. And so women born in this time and after this time, it's not a risk anymore. They'll always be able to find a guy, either temporarily or long-term, or at least for a night. All right, so this is where the things that's happening here, where the dating strategies, how we look at marriage and relationships, they just don't exist anymore. There's just a new thing that we have in front of us. So the idea that the cold approach, the numbers game is going to work in your favor, it also works in favor of the woman. Let me show you this. All right, it works in favor of the woman. Have you ever heard women in the 90s bragging about their rotation? Bragging. We had a woman earlier talking about all the niggas she had. That's new. But in the 90s, this movie came out in 1997. This is something that men would do against women openly. And we would laugh and sniggle about it. And we would talk about how we getting over on them. And you would use certain things. You would take notes on this movie. What was one of the rules? Never date a woman in your apartment building. Everybody remembers this. And then we would get over on them. We would fuck them. And then we would chuck them to the side and laugh and play games and play them for a fool and hide and date their neighbor. It was funny for us to be able to get over on women like that. Now today, in the 2020s, women get over on men like this. Women openly brag about their rotation and their options. And they got y'all niggas out here crying. Okay? They got y'all out here crying.
I know that at the end of the day, when you run through niggas, you only hurting yourself. And after you run through niggas, who are you limited to? You limited to all suckers after that. I don't like suckers. Once again, a nigga that's one of mine out here acting like he don't got no sense. All right, keep doing it. I'm not gonna mess with your ops. Why? Because that don't do nothing for me.
The roles are reversed. All right, so you got her saying the exact same thing that we would have said in the 90s, and we would have been high-fiving each other and ha-ha. All right, and now they run it on y'all, and y'all crying. When back in the day, they used to cry. They used to be like, they're doing this. And guess what? We found out that's what they got. That's how they got with. They dealt with guys like this. But they're over there like, my roster too. And they're like, I got a roster of 5 guys. The money guy, the healthy guy, the blow back out guy, the emotional guy, the gay guy. You see what's happening? It is flipped. Where men are complaining about not enough marriageable women. still ain't marrying them. The men are complaining there's not enough marriageable women that will put their career and their social media and their monetized behavior behind for you. It is flipped. Yeah, we in trouble. We's in trouble, sir. Let's go ahead and play this one right here. But about marriage, you guys know that the highest rates of divorce are with men and women over 50. The highest rate of divorce, men and women over 50. When did they meet? The 90s, the early 2000s. These are the people who got together, who got married. Maybe they had one marriage, two marriages, we don't know. But the highest rate of meaning the people who can't keep it together are in the age group of 50, 60, and 70. These are the people who met in the 90s and the 2000s, right? This is called a great divorce. Some people say why. Number one, women have more options. In the 90s, she was extremely limited. In 2024, she's free to be out here to do what she wants. She has her own money. She can travel. She can eat, pray, love. She can go fuck. She could be a slut openly now instead of hiding it. She had to get married. Even lesbian women had to get married in the 90s. Today, they could be out here being a freak. They can still jump on social media with they saggy titties and they're just going to be out there starving. They can get attention. They can hop on Instagram and Facebook and put a selfie out with cleavage. Niggas going to be on it in a negligee. They on it. Women want more than your goofy Fred Flintstone ass. They're like, I can get another guy. I can get a younger guy, which was somewhat passe, which was somewhat taboo in the 90s. She could get her own money. She could take half your money and travel on the shit. Before, divorce was a black eye. In the 90s and the 80s, a woman getting divorced was like death. She was done. She could find her way to get remarried again, but that was it, right? That was it for her. In 2024, I got divorced. On to the next. On to the next. It's not that big of a stain on their reputation anymore, on anybody's reputation. Let's take a look at this video right here. Let's take a look at this video.
I never thought I'd be in this predicament. I was involved in a relationship for 18 years. She initially left back in May of 2022. I didn't realize, I guess, how reliant I had become. I realize that more so now that she's been out of my life for, I guess now 2 years. Most men at 68 are proud of what they've accomplished, or if they retired from something they've done for 30, 40 years, something they feel that I could leave a little legacy, or they own a home, or they own something. I am in a hotel room where I'm a squatter waiting to be evicted. No car. I received Social Security, and I didn't have the foresight and the knowledge of realizing, guess what? What about your future? All I cared about at that time was going out, not having any responsibility. I didn't realize how I would hit rock bottom and go beyond rock bottom, if there's such a thing. I'm 68. I've got nothing. Yeah, I feel like my life is over with. I didn't realize how lonely and you feel just so isolated. I've never...
Look at this ninja. See, back in the day, you divorce a woman, she be crying. Today, a woman divorce you, y'all niggas crying. Right? This is where we're at. The man is completely destroyed. Why? Because what you had in your fairy tale head for the 90s was just going to be forever. Boys to men. Ooh, ah. All right. Down on bending knee. Jagged edge. Going into 112. Y'all thought this shit was forever. Now you're finding out women got options. They got other shit to live for than you guys. The reality is women have more shit to live for than they did 35 years ago. Same as 60 years ago. They got more shit to live for. And you guys are still trying to employ old strategies, old shaming language, old bullshit that think it's going to work. You think labels are going to work? You think calling a woman a 304 is going to work? You think calling a guy a trick is going to work? That's all old. I've been trying to advance you in this mindset for a long time. That shit ain't going to stop nobody out here. Now, what's stopping you is the realities, the laws, the realities that women are not the 90s women anymore. The majority of them are on some 2020 shit. Are they rich? No. But you're out here trying to get them to go back to the old days. They ain't going. And so here he is in a great divorce, codependent, totally got married at a time where the woman did not put herself above you. She would schedule your doctor's appointments. She would cook your meals and fold your laundry and all of that shit that you call cooking and cleaning. And then you got married to her thinking that shit was going to last forever, and it didn't. All right. And she got off. She divorced Grape You the Kingdom Come. She left your ass penniless and insane and left your ass out here codependent eating Hungry Man meals. Okay. She don't give a fuck. And you done unless you figure out how to live the free agent lifestyle and go put some hands on some 24-year-olds' hips. All right, you can live in this new reality. It's the fact that most men, coach, I don't have hope. Coach, I need hope. You weak ass, Mitch ass ninjas. Ain't no hope out here for the 90s to come back. Gentlemen, it's gone.
Larry Bird's not walking through that door, fans. Kevin McHale's not walking through that door, and Robert Parrish is not walking through that door. And if you expect them to walk through the door, they're going to be gray and old.
It's gone. Women they can work into their 70s. They can go fly around and travel without dragging your goofy ass around. All right, they can do. Now, is this the best situation? No. I'm saying, well, this hurts everybody across the board, but I can't stop it. I can't stop social media. I can't stop modern day women. I can't stop the divorce culture. I can't stop it. But what I can do is adjust. And as I say, you guys need to adapt and survive this. But praying that women find value in a husband and stay monogamous and vice versa, guys, that's dead. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead for the majority of people. And guys, the data is showing us this. You guys just refuse to move on. I'm trying to get you guys to move forward with a new modern day philosophy. Not trying to get, and there's a lot of guys, dating coaches, a lot of these guys in their 50s, mid 40s, late 40s, some of them early 40s, maybe late 30s, telling y'all 1990s shit like the 90s are going to return.
Larry Bird's not walking through that door, fans. Kevin McHale's not walking through that door, and Robert Parrish is not walking through that door. And if you expect them to walk through the door, they're going to be gray and old.
These men jump on your internet, jump on your red pill programming, talking about war stories and shit from the 90s that they used to do and how they got to where they got. And that shit don't fly today. None of that shit we were doing in the 90s is going to work today. It's not going to work for the masses. It's not going to be the cultural norm. They're out here terminating your kids and divorcing you at every head turn. They out here cheating and fucking and fornicating at every head turn. They out here putting cleavage and booty shots and feet pictures at every turn. They out here the entire time with rotations of niggas, and you out here crying in your pillow like Stewie at every turn. How much more can you see? They out here selling pussy and turning into wives at every turn. They out here on OnlyFans, Instagram, putting out bikini pictures and prancing across the stage, getting everybody's attention at every turn. And you guys are trying to find needles in the haystack with old war stories from 1990s ninjas, acting like you're going to find the diamond in the rough. There's no more diamonds in the rough. If you enjoyed this clip, check me out on the Free Agent Lifestyle channel for the best morning live stream every weekday. And of course, we're back for the evening live streams as well. Check out the times in the featured channels on this channel right here. And also the links are in the description box. I will see you there.
New world order.